Hey everybody! You having a rough morning after a wild night out with your homies? Well, I got just what you need, because today I'm making the beef tripe soup that's been curing hangovers for generations. Whether you like it or the thought of it turns your stomach, we're making Menudo, so let's get started! I've got a couple of kinds of tripe here today. I've got the honeycomb tripe, you can tell by that honeycomb texture on the inside of it. And I've got smooth tripe or blanket tripe. And with either of these, you're going to find some pieces that have a whole bunch of fat on them. And you want to cut a good portion of that fat out, but leave some behind for flavor. This smooth tripe that I bought came pre-blanched and it's ready to go. Sometimes when you buy fresh tripe, it can have kind of a strong odor to it. And if you want to get rid of that, you can just blanch it for a couple of minutes. This one smells fine, but I'm going to go ahead and blanch it just to show you the technique. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this into kind of matchbox size pieces. I don't know. They're going to shrink a little when I cook them. So these are 1.5 by 1.5 basically. Use your discretion on that. Now to blanch this, I'm just going to pour in enough water to cover up the tripe. Add a bit of salt and a couple tablespoons of vinegar. And that will knock any off smells right down. We're just going to bring that up to a boil, let it boil for a minute or two, and then strain it, and it's going to be ready to go. Brought that up and let it boil for a minute, and now I'm going to go ahead and strain it off and rinse it. And that's ready to go. You can do this a couple of days in advance if you want. My tripe is ready, and it's time to start putting the soup together. I've got all the ingredients here, starting with 10 guajillo chili peppers. These are going to give it nice chili flavor without a lot of heat. In addition to that, I have a handful of chile de árbol, and these are going to give it heat. So you can adjust how hot you want your menudo by how many chile de árbol you put in there. You could leave them out entirely if you want. But I like it spicy, so I'm going to put in a good handful. I have 1 bay leaf. This is a fresh one, so I'm only going to use 1. If it was dry, I'd use at least 3. I've got 4 cloves of garlic, 2 teaspoons of cumin, 5 tomatoes. They're kind of small, so I'm using 5. Usually I use 4, but these are pretty small. A medium onion and some Mexican oregano. And this is crucial to use some oregano. If you don't have the Mexican oregano, go ahead and swap out with any, but you really, really need to put oregano in there to give the soup its signature flavor. What I want to do first is get the seeds out of these guajillo chilies. Easy enough. Just going to cut them open. It's easier to do them now when they're dry than after I rehydrate them. There we go. Just get the seeds in the vein out. A few seeds in there is fine, or if you miss a few, I'm saying, it's going to be just fine. But they do have a bitter flavor, and so does this vein. Now I put my seeded and veined chilies in water. I'm going to bring that up to a boil. Rehydrate these. Once this gets hot and you see these start to soften up a little, go ahead and throw in the onion. And the tomatoes. And then bring this back up to a boil again. It's going to take about 10 minutes after it comes up to a boil to get these peppers nice and soft. Cook the onion a little bit. And you can pull these peels off of the tomato either as you do it like this, or you can take them out of there and be a little safer. Now I'm going to transfer all this to the blender. To that, I'm going to add a good amount of my oregano, a couple of tablespoons, generous tablespoons. Add my 4 cloves of garlic, just about 2 teaspoons of the ground cumin. If your blender's good enough, go ahead and throw in the whole seed. And then enough water that I can blend that down easily. You could also use the juice, the broth I should say, from when you cooked all the peppers and everything. But it was hot, and I want to use cold water here so this doesn't blow up in my face. And now I'm going to just blend the heck out of this stuff. You want to get it as smooth as you can, and then we're going to strain it. Now I've finished just blending the heck out of this stuff. And now I want to strain out the pulp and just catch that nice, smooth chili sauce. This looks good. Like I say, I got a lot of pulp here because my blender's not a big powerhouse. But I could add a little more water and re-blend that and strain it. But I think we're looking good with the amount we got here, so we're going to stick with that for now. And this chili sauce, this is essentially enchilada sauce. This is the base for a lot of different Mexican soups and like meat dishes. It's really versatile and it's good to have around. I've got my 4 pounds of clean tripe in here, 2 pounds of each variety. And to that, I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 cups of that chili sauce we made. Now I'll add in enough beef broth or water to cover up the tripe and then some. It all depends on how much broth you want in your menudo. I added about 6 cups of broth and the bay leaf. Now we're going to bring this up to a boil. Reduce it to a simmer and let that simmer for an hour and a half before we come back in and add our hominy. So I've been going for a little more than an hour and a half here. And the tripe is getting pretty tender. It's not all the way there. And now's the time when I want to put in my cooked hominy. And you decide how much of this you want to put in. This is a couple of cups. And you go as heavy as you like, or as light as you want on the hominy. You know, you want this keto, just leave it all the way out. So I'm going to bring this up to a boil again, get it down to a simmer, and let this go for another hour. And after a total of about 2.5 hours of simmer time, my menudo is ready. This tripe has become nice and tender. The hominy's puffed up and soft as well. This is really Friday night cooking for Saturday morning recovery. And I got a feeling that I'm going to need it. So I'm going to shut this down, let all those flavors just kind of mingle overnight, and then I'll reheat it in the morning when I really need it. See you then. And that's the dish. A quick note that normally I would cook a bunch of a fresh herb called epazote in the menudo, but that's just something that I can't really come by here in the winter time in rural Oregon, so I had to go without this time. No worries, this is just fine without it. Now the traditional garnishes, you want to use a bit of fresh onion, a good amount of cilantro, and this is some of that chile de árbol that I toasted and then ground up. And of course, a good healthy squeeze of lime. And that's ready to go. So I encourage you to drink responsibly, but when you can't, have a backup plan. Thanks for watching.